makeup artist.
It's not a race, but you guys are all winners in my heart. Hello, Silver. Hello, Beam. Also, Silver, that thing you asked us about earlier, that looks like that might be able to happen. I just don't like scheduling things ahead of time anymore because I never know if I'm actually going to have the people I need to have show up. But it looks like we're going to be showing up tonight, so get back with you after that. What's this? Thank you. I can't claim this music, but I'm glad you enjoy it. A Luti cast? I don't know if this is a Luti cast. I mean, we talk about Luti a lot on here, but Luti does not officially sponsor me, even though a good chunk of their admins are always watching. Or in chat, which is appreciated. Or have been on the Popcast in some form or fashion of the another. Speaking of which, hello, Emil. Your timing is impeccable. Oh. Extra long? Is it? Does it look bad? Does it look good? I don't know if extra long is a... I am trimming it. I am like not just letting it go wild. Hi, Amy. Waiting for the boss to start to meet. Man, you're gonna miss. There's actually a pretty fun part of the Popcast that's gonna be like 10 minutes into the episode. Looks like you're gonna miss it. So, hello. Hi, Amy. Good to see you. May or may not see you soon-ish. Thoughts on the low-level June ratings? Low-ink June ratings? I can't really, I can't comment because mine's coming out Thursday and I don't want to be like, I don't want to spoil mine. But I guess I'll say this. I've done like a rough draft this morning of what my top 10 is going to be. It's going to be pretty similar. It might not be the exact order. Well, who did he... Hold on. We'll look at that right now. What did he got at number 1? The Deep Fried Octolings at number 1. Angels 2. Citrus 3. Sirius number 4. Yeah. Tundra... I haven't seen Tundra sign up. And that's the other thing. I'm only doing teams that actually sign up by the time I check in on Thursday. Tundra, yeah. Dark Rain. iTap at number 7. I want to put iTap in my top 10. Insurance Agency at number 9. Mahi Mahi 10. Shiver Me Inklings number 8. Sekinaga number 7. Oh, Sekinaga and iTap are tied. No particular order. Okay. It says no particular order at the bottom there, so it's not a... man, iTap in the top 10. I don't know if they're ready yet. Because there's a lot of monsters that have signed up that are going to be... that demand to be in the top 10 somewhere. Access Denied needs to be somewhere. The Deep Fried Octolings, obviously. Dark Rain. Insurance Agency, Fugatsu Angels. I mean, Booyah X made Alpha Bracket last time they played. Anarchy's back. Obviously Sirius, which is basically 3 a.m. Rising Hope. And that's just the teams that have signed up right now. That doesn't include the 40 some odd teams that are going to sign up this week. That doesn't include the pickups. We always see a pickup make Alpha Bracket at some point, right? In every low ink, they always flame out like the first 2 rounds of Alpha on Sunday, but there's always a strong pickup team. I don't think Fruit Punch is coming back. Are we having a Destiny Troop reunion in chat up there, though? Will there be counter picks for this low ink? I don't think so. Just keep an eye on the announcement thing. I think we're still having conversations about it, and I'm not breaking any news. If you see in the announcements that we're doing counter picks, we are. If you don't, then we're not. Actually, no, we aren't doing counter picks because the map list already... I'm not breaking any news. The map list already got posted. No, we're not. We are not doing counter picks this month. It might be a thing that get implements next month, but no, for this month, we're just sticking with the normal formula. I didn't want to say anything because I don't want to just like break news here or stuff like that. But if it's already been posted somewhere, then yeah, I'm not breaking any news here. There is no counter picks this month in low ink. But keep an eye out in the future. Or don't, unless you don't. But no, whoever asked what my thoughts are on the low-level ranking releasing their top 10 low-ink teams for June, I like it. I don't want to be the only one putting my foot in my mouth with these things. I encourage more people to do this as well. I don't know, you know, with my top 10, sometimes I feel like I'm putting unnecessary pressure on other people, and then the other time I think, oh, who cares? It doesn't. The pressure was going to be on them anyways. Somebody's got to win low ink. Might as well be you. What's the Popcast? I don't have any secrets to spill. Unless I do. Slow effort. Amy, if you're expecting high effort, add an old Toph there. For those who don't know, Amy No Aim is a retired Destiny Troop member who we are still paying benefits out to, actually, to this day. That retired Sploot, the retired competitive Splatoon player, Medicaid. Where's your ice? I do. I owe you. Yeah, I do owe you ice cream, don't I? Oh, Toph ice cream. Oh, man, I'm going to see Toph in a couple of months. I got to give Toph some ice cream. How many A's did you do? No, gosh. What'd I say? 1 scoop per A? 15 scoops. Oh, my gosh. We're about to kill Amy. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or VOD, Twitch or YouTube, while you are raging over your plus server voting percentage, hoping that you will be that one Div 4 player whose exemption request will actually be approved for this low ink. Wishing me a happy Father's Day, even though I don't have any children. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. Look. I love you guys. You know that. But if I can't claim you as a dependent on my tax returns, then you're dead to me, all right? You will never be my children, and you will never have my fatherly love. Just throwing that out there. News of some tournaments that are coming up. Hey, LSL, Little Squid League, is coming back with the 13th edition. This is going to be on July The 10th, which is a Saturday, not this upcoming Saturday, not the Saturday after that, question mark? No, because that's the 4th of July weekend. So the Saturday after that, Little Squid League is coming back. I believe it's still Div 6 and below. And the last that I checked this morning, 12 teams had already registered for that. So this is looking to be on pace to become one of the biggest LSLs ever, which is great. It's been on a hiatus because of Luti, and it's still been going. They've still been hosting a lot of different streams of Luti things. They've been streaming a lot of Luti sets, including a lot of grand finals. I believe, what is the one I watched? Wipeout Punks versus Insurance Agency. What is that, Div 6 finals? Watch that one. That was a fantastic one. Went down to a game 9. So LSL's been busy, and it's nice that they're coming back, and it looks like they're going to have a strong tournament when they do in July. But we're looking at Low Ink, baby. Low Ink right here and right now. This weekend, it is Low Ink week. It's the week where I DM a lot of you, and usually if I DM you during Low Ink week, that's usually not a good thing, unfortunately. I'm sorry. But if your team is clean, and you're not trying to sneak in anybody illegal, and you're not asking for an exemption request for a Div 4 player and trying to make an excuse that we let in some other Div 4 team, which we haven't and we won't for this month, make sure you sign up for that. It is this Saturday and Sunday. 61 teams, possibly more. That was when I checked. We already had 61 teams, so it's probably already grown by now. This looks like to be one of those 100 plus team Low Inks that we haven't had since Luti season started. So it's going to be another one of those big tournaments. We're excited about that. Looking forward to some of the commentators who have already said that they're going to be available for this weekend. So it's going to be a fun time, unless it's not. Hey, if you're sitting here wondering, man, I really hope Popgun tells me who's going to win this tournament, because his predictions are always spot on. Well, I got good news for you. This Thursday, we're going back to the original 12 p.m. Eastern time slot to do the Low Ink preview. Now, in the Luti season, during the Luti Low Ink months, I haven't been able to do like a full in-depth preview. I usually just do like a Luti recap of that week, and then I would go through and just do my top 10. We're doing the actual deep dive. We're going to be talking about a ton of different teams in this preview. I got a ton of different categories other than just the top 10. I'm talking about teams I think are going to move up, teams I think that you've never heard of that have potential to win Low Ink. I call it the new Ink Reaper category. We're going to be talking about a ton of different things. I'm going to try to talk about as many teams as possible and try to shed the spotlight on as many of you as we possibly can for all the things you've accomplished and how I think you're going to do in this upcoming Low Ink. So just tune in for that Thursday, 12 p.m. Eastern time, right here on the Popcast. And I believe that wraps up the news. Today, we are going to be recapping Luti. Luti is over, basically. I mean, some teams still need to finish things up. There might be America versus World thing that needs to happen. But for the most part, Luti is done. It's at the point now where we can kind of reflect back and think about what teams improved the most over the course of the Luti season, who proved that they were underseeded, and what's next, and what is left behind now that Luti is gone, and what kind of an impact it had on community. We're going to be talking about all of that and more on today's episode of the Popcast. But first,
and now, to present the award for the worst pickup team name of the Launch Point Draft Cup, it's the host of the Popcast, Popgun.
Pickup team names are the unsung heroes of our community. They are the reason TOs miss C teams all of the time. The reason why commentators stutter in the middle of a match, and why people like me are losing their hair. Not bald. I'm not bald yet, you little jackasses. I am in the process of getting bald. I still have hair on my head. Thank you very much. This past weekend, the Launch Point Draft Cup 4 took place. And the category of the worst team name is the award that is up for grabs right now. Let's take a look at some of the nominees. First off, Splatoon is fun? Question mark? That's the name of the team. Splatoon is fun with a question mark in it. Do you really have to ask that question? We all know the answer to that. No, Splatoon is not fun. It is something we have all been trapped to be doing for the past couple of years here. It is not fun. It is an addiction. Fun is actually a myth created by scientists. So there you go. Splatoon is fun is up for the award. Dark Mafia. Isn't the Mafia already dark? But isn't that what the whole point of what the Mafia is? Is there such thing as like a light Mafia, a good Mafia? That name is redundant. Definitely a contender to win the worst team name award. What the dog doing? What the dog doing? That was the pickup team name here. Is this a meme that I don't understand? Is that what's going on here? I didn't Google that. Maybe I should have. But I'm willing to believe that it is a meme that I do not understand. If it is a meme, I probably know it. I am the most woke 30-plus-year-old that you guys know. That is a fact. I would know if this wasn't a meme, but what the dog doing? Definitely a strong contender for this award. Gotta give a shout out to Gecko Chuckers. Gecko Chuckers. What's the story behind this team name? I wonder. I have no idea. Gecko Chuckers. Okay. Rhino Dragons. I am surprised that I didn't just know instantly what this was. I Googled it, and turns out it is a rhino and a dragon put together. That I thought there'd be something more to it than that, but no, it's not. It's a dragon with a rhino horn. There you go. So, still a bad pickup team name because I was expecting more from it when I Googled it. So there you go. Moose Planets. Hey, this was my wife's favorite pickup team name. Of course, it hits home for us because we have a dog named Moose. So Moose Planets. I don't know what a moose planet is. Maybe, I guess, just a planet full of mooses. The team that made this team name is definitely a bunch of mooses. That is for sure. But the wife loved the team. The Spanish Inquisition. I can't explain the Spanish Inquisition better than your middle school social studies teachers will when it comes to this. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Just trust me, this is a bad pickup team name. The Spanish Inquisition. Dr. Uncles? Somebody responded to me on Twitter and said that this was, they used a word generator to come up with this team name. And originally they had lawyer ants, like AUNTS, and decided to scrap the ant to go with the Dr. Uncles for whatever reason. I used the word generator and it said that this pickup team name sucks. Super Monkey Ballers. The people who made up this team probably didn't even think about Monkey Ball until E3 came out. In fact, we're probably the only people on the planet that when they saw that description of like, this is a new first time this game's been coming out in 20 years, we thought, oh, that's weird. Donkey Kong Country, because they had the bananas and everything. But no, it was Super Monkey Ball, which makes it embarrassing for me to think, oh, of course, Donkey Kong was not more than 20. Donkey Kong didn't debut 20 years ago, which even further cemented in my head, like, oh, crap, the GameCube was 20 years ago. And some of you in chat were born after the GameCube came out. And I'm just getting more depressed the more I talk about this. So we're just going to keep on. We're just going to switch subject here. So there are your nominees for worst pickup team name. And now, I didn't get a drum roll clip, so just pretend we have it here. But we are going to announce the official winner of the worst pickup team name of the tournament. Goes to the Burritos. Congratulations, Burritos.
This is Burritos' first nomination and first time winning this award.
I I think when I Google this, I knew what to expect. Yes, it's just a cat wrapped up in a blanket. It's perfect. It's so wholesome and cuddly, and it made me smile. And anything that makes me smile has to be a bad thing. So, Burritos, congratulations. You officially have the worst pickup team name in the Launch Point Draft Cup tournament. Congratulations. They couldn't be here to accept the award here today. However, they did send me a statement, and I'm going to read the statement out loud for you guys now. Ooh woo, we are super excited to win this award. Doom will swallow this planet whole. Oh, wow, those guys are jerks. Screw them, am I right? So there you go. That was the pickup team names for this tournament. And there was another draft cup. I believe Plus 2 had a draft cup. But the pickup team names were boring. So I didn't include any of them. Maybe if there was just a not so exciting award, they would be listed on that. If we're gonna do a deep dive into, they were auto-generated anyways. Well, that makes sense. Why they were so boring. If we were gonna do a deep dive into the Launch Point tournament, unfortunately, I couldn't watch all of it. I spent 12 hours driving yesterday. My wife and I took kind of a family trip this past weekend, and I couldn't watch anything. I didn't even know the Launch Point Draft Cup was happening until I saw people talking about it. I didn't even hype it up on an episode of the Popcast, so I didn't even know that was a thing. The teams that won this tournament, though, Light Show came in first place. The players on this are Bandai, Devil, who I believe is on Enigma now, Killmonger, and Lost, who I believe is on Coral Underground, a Div 17. Team finished in second place, everyone's favorite, Moose Planets. This was made up of people I have no idea who any of these guys are. First off is a smiley face, just the emote smiley face. Low Bundu, Sonar, and Narco. No idea who any of those guys are. And Rhino Dragons ended up in third place here. That is made up of Picklice, Blue Hopper, Pixel. I believe that is the Pixel of Team Fighters, and X-Ray. I know X-Ray is somebody who listens to the podcast, but I can't think off the top of my head what Team X-Ray is on. So those are the top three teams. Lobundu is from Otakus. I knew as I just started listing out these things, you guys would start telling me where they are from. So Lobundu is from Otakus. Narcos from iRide, or Irida, I believe is how they pronounce. Killmonger's on Cracked. Okay, so it's good. These are some teams we haven't seen in Low Ink in a while. Sonar used to be on Spirit Incorporated. Used to be. A team disbanded. So that I just kind of did a quick search over the last couple of Low Inks to see who did what. I know we haven't seen Irida in a while, but good. It's good that these players are still participating in tournaments. It's good that the Launch Point Draft Cup is still happening. This is the fourth one. If I was just look at Challenge, I believe they did bigger groups this time around, which is great. When it goes to group stage tournaments that lead into a bracket, especially for draft cups, it makes more sense for the group stage to be fatter and for the top cut to be smaller. I still feel like the SIC All-Star Tournament hit it right on the head. Just do two groups. Everybody gets to play like 5 games. Or 5 matches. I believe they were best of 5 back then, and only 4 teams move on to top cut. I feel like that's great. I think they did 5 groups. I think there were 5 group teams in each group that the Launch Point Draft Cup did, which is fine too. It's great. It gets the job done. Give your teams more opportunities to play in the group stage, and then only let a handful move on to top cut, and just let them beat their brains out and get the tournament over with. The stream for this lasts about 5 hours. That is a cakewalk compared to like the 8 hours, 7 hour stream that they had in like Launch Point Draft Cup 2 or whatever. So good to see this tournament still kicking around. Congratulations once again to Light Show for winning it. My wife's team won it last time. I don't think you get auto banned for winning the Draft Cup. I think you get a keychain. That's what it is. You get a keychain for winning the Draft Cup. So congratulations to Bandai, Devil, Killmonger, and Lost for winning the Draft Cup there. Try to catch the stream next time you guys do one. I always love giving a shout out to the Launch Point stuff because I feel like Launch Point, of all the servers, all the draft servers, Launch Point, Midpoint, +3 through 1, +0 is still a thing. I don't know. I feel like Launch Point has the best formula, and I would hope that it somehow gets pushed up. That like the formula they do, I feel like should be. I feel like Midpoint really needs to look at what Launch Point is doing and try to implement it instead of being something they're not, which is a plus server. But that's a rant for another day. Congratulations once again, Light Show. I was surprised how quickly I got that bow tie on. I figured it was going to trip me up for a little bit there. Now, let's turn down the volume because we are going to recap the weekend. Look, I wanted to see Splatoon 3 stuff during E3 just as much as you guys did. The fact of the matter is, though, did you really need to see anything from Nintendo for Splatoon 3? Did you really? Because you didn't. If you are somebody who found me and listened to me on a consistent basis, a dude who talks about low-level competitive Splatoon, that's such a niche thing. If you're watching me right now, you would pre-order Splatoon 3 today if it became available to be pre-ordered. Like, I would too. I would buy Splatoon 3 today. I don't need to see anything else. They've already got me sold, and they've already got you sold, and they know that. So why do you guys expect them to announce a trailer every 2 months, or a test fire, or leak new information? Like, no, stop that. Stop it. Nintendo's not going to do that. Now, I think every other direct, they might like, hey, we're still working on it until this comes out. Check out these other things or something like that. But Breath of the Wild got announced with a trailer and they didn't show anything for another year because why would they? It's another year or two before that game even comes out. You guys expecting so much from Nintendo. It's ridiculous. And of course they wouldn't. What did they mostly show at E3? They mostly showed stuff that's coming out in October that you didn't even know existed. Metroid 5, super hyped about that. Tony Hawk's coming over. I guess that's not news, breaking news. I think we already knew Tony Hawk games were coming over. And Advance Wars 1 and 2. If that has online play, I will definitely get it because I love playing that in my, I guess I was about a teenager. Early teen when those games were coming out on Game Boy, but still there's plenty of stuff to be excited about. But Nintendo's goal here was not to blow your pants off. It was just to be like, hey, here's what's coming out in October that you don't even know about. And we should just be thankful they're telling us about stuff that's coming out in 4 months. You remember Paper Mario? They were just like, oh, by the way, we made a Paper Mario game. It's coming out next month. It's already on its way to your local GameStop. And we're like, what in the world? You made a Paper Mario game and didn't tell us anything about it until it was already done? Okay. So just be happy we got a heads up that Splatoon 3 is even coming. Yes, would it be nice to see more stuff? Yes, of course. But you guys that are so thirsty for new information after every single month or every time Nintendo sneezes... Did you say that Chargers are going to be more balanced than the next game? You just said Ink Armor's not going to be there. If you pause this video right here and look directly at this pixel, it shows that Ink Armor is actually not going to be in the next game. Like, come on, guys. Can't we just enjoy the fact that it got announced? We can't, can we? The only people that are not happy, that truly have a reason to gripe about Splatoon 3 not being at E3 are these people that make a living making Splatoon 3 theories on YouTube. The people who go frame by frame of every trailer and break it down. We need a 10-minute video on this 2 seconds of this trailer because there's some theories we got to explore right here. So now they just got to come up with more crap off the top of their head for another 2 months until we get a new trailer. looking past E3 and looking at some of the tournaments that happened this week, only got a couple. SOS 32 happened on Wednesday and was won by Chad House, in dominant fashion. 13-0 per game was the Div 1 monster that tore up this tournament. Now, I think we were kind of expecting that from Madhouse, so I will say this. The team I'm most excited about from this tournament is Summit, the team that finished in second place. Excuse me, my body's exploding. The team that finished in second place, Summit. They were a project, I guess, for the first couple of tournaments that we saw them in. This time around, they announced at the end of this tournament that they are now an official team, and that is awesome. Here's my concern with any project, though, and why I'm always worried about projects in general, is because you're a project until you start winning a lot of games, and then you're like, well, we win a lot, so let's become a team. And then when you become a team, you eventually start losing, and when you start losing is when people show their true characters, and then that's when teams disband. So that's why we see projects sometimes last longer than the actual team phase. But I'm not saying that's going to happen to Summit. I'm excited about Summit. They got a really strong roster. I believe all of them got into +3 this morning. If not some into +2, I think, actually. Isn't Pony on Summit? Pony got into +2, I believe. So, strong new team. Hopefully these guys stay together. They got a strong nucleus, and they can start kicking some tushy on their way up the ladder. Climbing the summit, I guess you could say. The team that finished in third place was Indigo. The winner from Hammerhead was Yuki. Yuki. Mako was won by Sugar Crash, and Lantern was won by Seki Naga. That's the thing. When you think of, it's hard to think of SOS in the same terms that we think of Low Ink. Well, this is a beta bracket level team. Well, that's a gamma level team. Are we really going around saying, well, this is a Hammerhead level team or a Lantern level team? No, we're not. It just depends on how you do in that group stage, who you get put up against in your group, where you get seeded, all that is where you end up. So you think of, when I'm going to be saying Seki Naga as a team that can potentially win this next Low Ink, don't think of them as, well, that they just won Lantern bracket. No, they did what they're supposed to do. If you're going to be a contender, then you're supposed to beat teams that you're supposed to beat. And Seki Naga, being put into Lantern bracket, swept it as you would expect them to do. But still, congratulations to Madhouse dominating this tournament. But I'm keeping an eye on Summit. They look pretty toasty. Looking pretty toasty. Testing Grounds 19 happened on Friday. This was a Mako Mart only tournament. Okay. I think the idea behind this was that Mako Mart is seen as the best map and mode for competitive. So let's just spam it down people's throats. Only 12 teams signed up for this one, but I don't think that had anything to do with the format. I think it was just because of the weekend. And Luti just kind of wrapping up with that. The team that won this tournament, Rising Wave, beat On Kraken Paradise. Why is it called that? Because it's some members from the formerly disbanded On Crack and the new team Paradise joined together. So that's why it's not Kraken Paradise. It's On Kraken Paradise. It's a pickup team. But when you think about it, the name makes sense, unless it doesn't. They finished in second place to Rising Wave. The team that finished in third place was Lightside, I believe. I didn't really know who Lightside was. The team I was most excited about in this tournament, Persistence. Persistence is back. How about that? I don't know what happened with that. They announced they were playing in Low Ink, and that got denied very quickly. But they're still playing anyways. We love Persistence here on the Popcast. Stormy was the official Popcast captain of the year last season, so hopefully Persistence is coming back as like an actual legit thing. It'd be cool to see them play in SAC. And they sit here playing this tournament. Maybe Mako Mart's just not their best map and mode. Maybe they're a little bit rusty. Who cares? Good to see Persistence back. Last but definitely not least, just going to glaze over this one. The +2 Draft Cup happened this past weekend as well. It was won by Leo of Summit, Jack of Avalanche, so very mountain Mountainy team, and Leon and Phoenix. I'm not quite sure what team those two were on, but they ended up winning the +2 Draft Cup. I don't know what you get for winning the +2 Draft Cup. Obviously, it is not a spot into +2 because they did not get that straight up. So, who knows? Regardless, that recaps the weekend. Not a whole ton of tournaments this time around, but that's fine. We're going to have a lot of tournaments next weekend to look at. Squid Junction, I believe Aquatic Cup is happening. Another SOS. And obviously, Low Ink. And that was your weekend recap, sponsored by Sears. Hey, if you got a vaccine shot in a mall, in your local mall, in a giant empty department store, it's most likely was a Sears at some point or another. So there you go. Leo saying Leon is on Shatterpoint and Phoenix of Barracuda. That is right. I should have known Phoenix won. Shatterpoint I don't know a whole heck a lot about, but I do know Phoenix is on Barracuda. Just didn't think about it. I'm getting some really good sponsors here for the Popcast. The Eric Andre vaccine thing. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen anything from Eric Andre in a minute, honestly. I did not get my vaccine in a mall. My parents did. I got mine at like a convention center, I think, or something like that. I don't know. That was a while ago. Squirrel says we need Splatoon 3 now. Oh, I got some bad news for you. It's gonna be about a year, maybe more. All right. The portion of the Popcast you are actually here for. It's time to talk about Luti. I've often compared Luti to the Olympics, right? I've used that analogy before. I think it's a pretty good analogy. The Olympics are awesome. You like the Olympics. Everybody wants to host the Olympics, even though the math will tell you you really shouldn't. The idea of me comparing Luti to the Olympics, it's something that comes in. It dominates the community for a couple of months. You build up all this infrastructure just for it. Everything else kind of backs out and makes room for it to come in and just take over the area for a little bit. Then when it leaves and you have the closing ceremony, it's awesome. But then you're kind of left with all of this stuff. Like you got a facility that's built for underwater basket weaving only that you're never going to use again. You got this giant infrastructure that makes no sense for anything other than just the specific event that it's there for, and you are left with a ton of trash and a lot of debt that you gotta kind of clear up. So it's not hosting the Olympics is statistically has never been beneficial for anybody except for like major countries that already have venues like that anyway. Like the United States hosting it's not a country that hosts it. It's just a city. A country hosts a World Cup. The Olympics is just a city. But like Los Angeles, it's always been speculated. Like, why don't we just do the Olympics at Los Angeles every time? Like they have everything you already need built. Like it's such a simple thing, but you want to spread it around. I'm getting off topic. We're talking about Luti here, not just the Olympics. But my point being is this. We all loved Luti when it was here. It was awesome. But now it's gone and it's leaving. What exactly is it leaving behind for us here? While it was running, tourneys did see a decline in participation, a huge decline in participation. Some tourneys just flat out disappeared from the face of the earth. Ash Cup, gone. We haven't seen them in a long time. Minnow Cup, they did one tournament and now it seems like they're bi-monthly or something like that, or they're trying to do Minnow Cup and Megalodon Cup like every other month or something like that. I don't know. We don't have a Minnow Cup this month. Little Squid League. We talked about Little Squid League. Little Squid League is coming back. But they did bow out exclusively just for Luti. They were like, hey, you guys need to focus on Luti sets. Don't worry about doing our tournament. And they did help out with it. They did stream a lot of tournaments, a lot of matches for Luti, grand finals of a lot of divs for Luti as well. So LSL is still active. Midway, I mean, people were saying, where are all the mid-level teams? Nobody's playing in Midway. I think Midway never broke. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Midway ever broke 20 teams in one tournament that they had this past season. Where are all the mid-level teams? I'm trying to like strangle the opponent of who I'm playing this week to get them to agree to a time that we can actually play. So I don't know if I don't even know if I got 4 people alive on the day of the Midway. So that's why a lot of teams probably didn't play in that. IPL, all the tourneys, SOS, Testing Grounds, Low Ink, all took a significant hit. Well, Low Ink is still the monster tournament that it was, but it's not the 100+ tournament that it had been basically for several months in a row. Leading up to this Luti season, I believe we had 80 and 70-ish teams in the past couple of months, which again, fine, great tournament, didn't really affect the Low Ink at all, but you can't deny that Luti definitely kept a lot of teams out. And some teams were crazy enough to where they did a Swiss Saturday and then immediately did a Luti match. Like, they're so devoted to playing in Low Ink that they built their Luti match into the middle of Low Ink between Saturday and Sunday. Ridiculous, but some teams really wanted to make that work and were able to do what they wanted to do with that. Low-level turning numbers during Luti were fine, I guess. I mean, yeah, we lost some stuff and some stuff's coming back, but it did have a negative effect, but I don't think it means that it's totally a negative thing as a whole, that low-level tournaments were taking a little bit of a dip, or tournaments in whole were taking a little bit of a dip. It's not like teams weren't playing the game. Everybody was playing the game. I would argue the community has been more active than it's ever been. Even though numbers per tournaments are down, they're still playing in Luti sets. They're still scrimming to prepare for their upcoming Luti sets. The community is still very active. And a huge Luti, 320 teams? If you don't include all the ones that dropped before divs come out and over the course of the season, still the biggest Luti we ever seen. So the community has never been stronger, but the question now is, what is left that Luti is gone? Tourneys are starting to come back. LSL is going to be making a return. I expect them to set a new record, honestly. They already got 12 teams. I think the record for them is 28 teams. And they got 3 weeks left to go for their tournament. So they're going to break their record of 28 for sure. Low Ink is set for another 100+ team tournament this upcoming weekend. I believe we're at like 65 or something. That number should increase. Make sure you sign up for Luti now instead of later, guys. I think this actually solved a problem too, to be honest. A lot of people were talking about, there's an oversaturation of tournaments right now. There's too many tournaments going on. Before Luti, it seemed like everybody was arguing, fighting each other for these Saturday slots. And we had to we had so many weekends where we had a low-level tournament on a Saturday and a Sunday just to get them in on time, because there was no other way to make it all work out. I mean, there was just tournaments like every single day. Luti killing off a lot of those tournaments might actually honestly be a good thing. I've always said this. Look, I don't want to just come on here on the Popcast and be like, don't create new tournaments, or I don't want to be like, don't sign up for this tournament because the people that run this suck, or anything like that. Now, I do promote a lot of tournaments, and there are a lot of tournaments that I think do flat out suck, but I'm not going to come out and say which ones. I just don't promote them. But I feel like Luti was a good way to kind of kill out a lot of these tournaments and make room for the ones that were strong enough to survive. I've always said this. If you like a tournament, sign up for it and support it. If you don't, then don't. And I feel like people did that over the course of the Luti season. People had to be more picky about what tournaments they wanted to play in. Oh, well, we're kind of getting burned out because we're playing all these Luti sets. What tournament do we really want to play in? Low ink. Let's just play in low ink, and then that's it. Or SOS. We love SOS's format. We feel like it's the best format of any tournament in the community right now. Let's just make sure we don't do Luti sets on Wednesdays so that we can play in that. And then we'll just focus on other things. Spend the rest of the week focusing on our Luti set. I feel like a lot of teams did that. And as a result, some of these not so good tournaments or tournaments that don't have good reputation got weeded out. And I think that's a good thing. Competition I'm not going to get an argument of like capitalism over socialism or anything like that, but competition amongst tournament organizations, I think, is a good thing because it only breeds the best of the best that finish out on top. And that's what we need, more quality tournaments. What we don't need is more quantity of tournaments. And I feel like the quality tournaments are the ones that survived this Luti season. We will see some new tourneys pop up, though, in the next few months, for sure. For sure. We know it's going to happen. Which is fine. It's still... Some of these tournaments will stick. Some of them won't. I feel like there is a bit of a... Somebody was saying that there's too many low-level tournaments. That was the case. I felt like we had a good rotation. Little Squid League, Low Ink, Ash Cup, Minnow Cup... and then the Checkpoint 1 and Launch Point. I feel like those 6 were a good rotation, and it was healthy to where we get them all in on time. Ash Cup's about out. Minnow Cup seems like they're... it seems like we're going to see less Minnow Cups than what we have. That sucks. I don't think that's the right play, but it's not my organization. I shouldn't talk about it. But I feel like there is a door opening for more low-level tournaments to kind of pop up, and that makes me nervous and excited at the same time. Excited because more low skill cap tournaments, if they're run really well, are fine. I don't know if the community as a whole needs more skill cap tournaments, but having a healthy rotation to where it's not just Low Ink and just Little Squid League, or for the past 2 months, it was just Low Ink with a Minnow Cup sprinkled in there. That was it. So having more of those is fine. The problem is low-level tournaments are much more difficult to run than any other tournament. I'm sure there's some other people that would argue against me on that, but the main problem is verification. We brought in some new people to help us out with Low Ink, and they could probably tell you the verification process for Low Ink is extensive, but it's also somewhat simplified based on the amount of resources and technology that we have to dig into everybody that signs up for Low Ink. The problem being, though, not everybody has access to the same kind of infrastructure that we have built, or the same quality of staff that we have had on the time. We're not just creeping Twitters, although we do that a little bit. So that kind of concerns me. A new tournament will pop up and it's skill capped, and I'll just like keep an eye on it. And it seems like the mistake they always make is, oh yeah, you haven't played the game in 2 months. You're fine. Come back in and destroy our tournament. And it's like, I don't know about that. But I wouldn't be surprised if we do see a new tournament rise up from the ashes that is good enough and strong enough to where it sticks around. But I think we're going to see a lot of tournaments pop up to try to like come back and take the spots that Luti left the void from all the tournaments they killed off, that are just going to be bad. And we're just going to have to kind of deal with that for a little bit. But again, approach it with the same mindset that I was trying to preach to you guys to do before Luti. If a new tournament shows up, give it an opportunity. It doesn't mean you have to sign up for it, but keep an eye on it. If it's something you might be interested in, give it a shot. And if it sucked, leave quality feedback. Don't go on Twitter and be like, oh, this happened in the tournament, I played it. Like, okay, cool. That doesn't help anybody. It gets you likes on Twitter, which is all you want. But if you want to actually help the community grow and help a tournament get better, leave feedback in the feedback channel. So just be mindful of that as we go forward with the new tournaments that are inevitably, it's 100% going to happen. They're going to be popping up in the next couple of months. And again, just because the amount of participation in tournaments has decreased doesn't mean the player base has increased. It's only improved. And that will be proven by the uptick in teams signing up for these tournaments that are going to be happening in the next couple of weeks. This upcoming Low Link is going to be the jump start that will get the entire community back in action to get it back out there and get those tournaments played. That being said, let's look at Luti itself. Who got the most out of this season? Which teams improved the most? Who proved that they were underseeded from the very beginning? Not the teams that got seeded into a div that they should have been seeded in and then improved over the course of the weekend, but teams that were like, okay, we screwed up putting these guys here. They proved from day one that they didn't deserve to be there. Let's look at Div 4 on down to 8 this time. See what we can come up with. Starting at Div 4, the teams who I feel like improved the most from the start of the season to where they ended up right now. You got to go with Resilience. You have to. I mean, these guys really surprised me. Not with how well they did in Div 4 overall, because I felt like they would be a strong Div 4 team. In fact, they were one of the teams that you were thinking of like, okay, we need to put these guys in Div 3 and just skip. I know they're a low-ink team at the time, but we need to kind of just skip that and put them right into Div 3. It didn't work out because there were still too many strong teams ahead of them. I felt like they do really good in Div 3 or in Div 4, but they kind of just barely survived their group. I believe they went 3-2, and it had to go down to a tiebreaker with points that was very specific. Like they needed one team to beat this other team by a certain amount of points just for them to scrape by and get into the group. But when they got into the group, they kicked some serious tushy here. They went 5-4 in their first 2 matches. They won quarterfinals 5-4, won semifinals 5-4. That is ice in your veins level. That is clutch. Coming out of Resilience. And then they ran into the team that's a little too strong for Div 4 and Bounty, who I think got revamped. But still, if you're talking about a team that improved the most in Div 4 from the start of the season to where things are right now, it's got to be Resilience. I don't think anybody expected, after the first couple of weeks, I don't think anybody expected Resilience to be in the grand finals of the American Div. Pretty impressive for them. Another team that improved a lot, if we're looking at the world side of Div 4, could be Sky Knight. These guys were the best they done in low ink back when they were eligible to play in low ink was beta bracket. They never made an alpha bracket. And they did good in other tournaments, so that's why they got warranted from bumped. Why that beta bracket team got bumped up from Div 5 to a Div 4 slot. But still really improved over the course of the season. I believe they made playoffs in the world group and basically played better than what their results showed that they should have done in Div 4. So a good improvement there for Sky Knight. The teams that proved they were too good for Div 4 from the very beginning. Well, how about one of the teams that won the world group? D-Dog. And it's funny because this team applied to be in low. They applied for an exemption to be in low ink during the first time we tried to get down from Div 4 to Div 5, and we're like, well, you're a Div 4 team. We're just going to deny you. It turns out we made the right call because it looks like those guys would have just destroyed low ink if they had played in it. They played really good in a testing grounds, finishing second place, I believe, in a testing grounds during the Luti season, and just kind of stomped their bracket, went all the way through. They're not a Div 4 team. Twice was one of the, there was a couple teams that did really well in SAC that made the top 8 that still ended up in Div 4 anyways. Twice played like they had a chip on their shoulder. I think they were like, hey, Destiny Troops, Avalanche, C Boys, all those guys got put up in Div 3. why are we not up there with them? Well, they just ripped Div 4 apart for the most of the season. They ran into Bounty, who was just really, really difficult. But their group was really competitive for everybody except for Twice. Twice just destroyed their group without a second thought. I think they're a little too good for Div 4. Of course, you gotta give a shout out to Bounty. Bounty lost in the first week, I think, or first or second week of their group. And I think they picked up, is this the team that picked up Isaac from Nebula Inc., the +2 player? And that, I think that's how they ended up beating Resilience 5-0 in the grand finals of that. I think they just added a little too much bulkiness to their roster that couldn't really be overcome. But Bounty proved, with the revamped roster, a little too good for Div 4. Div 5, the most improved team, I'm shocked Neptune's Envoy won. Neptune's Envoy won Div 5 of the world. I'm genuinely shocked about that. This is a team that when they played in low ink would finish in like gamma or beta bracket, and that's it. That's it. I mean, you're in a div with, well, they're in the world side of the div, but still they lost this 0 ink in week 1. That win got reversed when 0 ink dropped, and they just did not look back ever since then. It's like, okay, thanks for giving that win back to us. We're just going to stomp this group out and win it. They won Div 5. Did they prove they're too good? No, because back then when these divs got put out, they were definitely a Div 5 team, but they improved over the course of Luti to prove how good they actually were. And yeah, a huge improvement over what they were 2 months ago. A team with very visible levels of improvement from the American side of Div 5. Give me deep fried, excuse me, the deep fried Octolings. How are you able to see their improvement? In week 1 of their group, they played Access Denied, lost to them 4-5. Then they turned that around to win the rest of their group and make it to the 3rd place match where they played Access Denied yet again. And this time, instead of it being close, absolutely stomped them 5-1. The deep fried Octolings are improving very much. They're signed up for this upcoming low ink. I'm excited for that. I believe I said during the now don't go back and look at all the things I said, because sometimes I'm wrong, but I did say I felt like the deep fried Octolings were the odd team on the outside looking in, trying to get onto that Div 4 bus with all the Div 4 kids, and just got stuck in Div 5 because there was no room for them. I feel like they proved. I feel like they still improved over the course of the season, but I think they also staked the claim that they could have been put into Div 4 and done decently well in that div as well. For the teams that proved straight up that hey, you screwed up, we should not be in Div 5 at all to begin with. Is it too obvious to say Citrus? Maybe it is. But hey, we've seen teams like this before. We've seen teams like this say, well, you underseeded us, so we're just going to destroy it. And what do? They just end up they end up on the team on the bleachers watching the playoffs, not even make it out of their groups. Citrus flexed. They won their entire group 5-0, made it all the way to the grand finals. And the reason not the reason they lost, but it is worth noting the grand finals they played was kind of rushed. I believe they had some players that were going out on vacation, so they had to get their match in before the maps were even announced. They had to get DM'd the map list by Immel so that they could play their set in on time. So Citrus ended up losing to, I believe it was Ink Illuminati's. I forget who they lost to in the world group there. But they ended up doing really, still, regardless, Dreamscape. Thank you, Dreamscape. Regardless, Citrus proved that they are not the Div 5 team. It shouldn't have been on them to prove that anyways, but we've seen teams beat their chest and not back it up. They talk the talk and they walk the walk. You got to give them credit for that. Ink Illuminati's they're the team that won the world group of Div 5, or on their way to win the world group. No. I'm getting screwed up here. My notes are all over the place. Yes. Illuminati's. We're gonna look at this up. Take a quick 5-second break here. Sometimes my notes are so bad that I don't even look at them, or I can't even read them. Illuminati's lost. Neptune's Envoy is the team that won. Still, Illuminati's is a team that proved they're a little bit too good for this div. They won in their sets that they played in the world playoffs here at Div 5. 5-4 over TZK, 5-4 over TOR Esports, and a 4-5 loss to Neptune's Envoy. Another one of those resilience teams that just would find a way to get to a Game 5 no matter what they were doing in. A Game 9 no matter what set they were playing in. So I think Illuminati's proved they were a little bit too good for this group as well. If we're looking at Div 6, moving right along, the most improved team, Insurance Agency. Easy, the Insurance Agency. These guys, I talk about them every single week. You remember Tonkin, aka Citrus? I always said Tonkin was a team that was always stepping forward and never took any step backwards. The Insurance Agency is that team now. They are always stepping forward. They're always getting better. They lost Div 6 America to Wipeout Punks 5-4. Again, this was one of the ones that was streamed on stream by LSL. I believe Insurance Agency had like a 3-1, maybe a 4-2 lead at some point, and Wipeout Punks just kind of came back on them. But the Insurance Agency, you can't have a list of most improved teams and not include these guys on it in any shape or fashion, because they are really good, and that's going to show in my top 10 list when I talk about teams that potentially could win low ink this upcoming weekend. Vaporwave deserves the shout out here for sure. They kind of scraped by and barely made it out of their group in playoffs, but once they got the playoffs, they upset Rising Wave 5-3. Before losing to Insurance Agency and then beating Booyah X to claim third place in the bronze medal match there of Div 6. So Vaporwave, a team that's vastly improved as well. I feel like the peak of Vaporwave used to be that grand finals they played in LSL against Mahi Monsoon. And they haven't really lived up to the hype since then. This Luti season got them back on track to surpass that moment for them, and they're definitely deserve some recognition as an improved team. From the world side, I'm genuinely surprised at how the 60% fish puns did in Div 6 here. They finished 4-1 in their group. Just ran into a monster in the playoffs here, but you talk about the group that they were in. They had Sorrow, team name guys, please. Black Squids ended up being a good team, and that hashtag team, hashtag Abahoben, was a beta bracket team, a team that I thought was going to do really well. And the team that finished in 4-1 out of all of them was 60% fish puns. And this improvement that they've grown over Luti season has been evident. They had that great low ink where they knocked off a lot of notable teams, including my beloved Thimbo IHOP. And then poked the bear of Tuniverse, and I think they might regret that. But still, 60% fish puns, I think, has improved over the course of this season for the World Group, easily. The teams in Div 6 that proved they were too good to begin with, all of the World Group top 4. I mean, there were some serious monsters in Div 6 World Group. Booyah Ghosts, Squadra Azure Cielo, who ended up winning all of Div 6 World. Nightmares and Sorrow. All those teams were strong, really strong, and seemed to be miles above everybody else in that div. So I feel like Div 6, the world, I don't know who won Div 6. Squadra is your one Div 6 for the world. Who do they got to play? Wipeout Punks. I hope Wipeout Punks hold their own in that match if they do end up playing against each other. But those are some strong teams on the world side. And by the way, Wipeout Punks from the American side proved they're a little too strong for Div 6 as well. Insurance Agency proved over the course of the season that they were, but again, where the agency was at the beginning of the season to where they are now is not the same team. You could say that about anybody, but still, Wipeout Punks, I feel like, with how much they dominated their group, only lost coming to a 5-4 result against Vaporwave, showed they're a little too good for Div 6. Two more divs to go. Right along, Div 7, the most improved team. I got two. Power Inc. and Ink Bashers. I guess you can include Starfall into that list as well, an LSL team who we've all... I've been keeping an eye on because I said I think they got one of the best names in low Inc. or in low-level Splatoon. Power Inc. ended up in second place in their group. Sweeping, I said it had to be a mistake that they 5-0'd on Crack. It wasn't. Turns out that was a legit 5-0 butt whooping. So congratulations to Power Inc. for getting silver medal in their group. This is a team that consistently plays in tournaments like Little Squid League, like Low Inc. I think they're a favorite. If they are allowed to play in Little Squid League, I think they're a legit favorite to win it, honestly, or at least be a contender to win it for sure. Ink Bashers, these guys have said that they wanted to make some noise and get some more recognition. They wanted to earn it. How about finishing third place in Div 7, the America? That'll turn some heads. Beating Demon Hunters in their playoff group, beating Uncracked in their playoff group. Ink Bashers, a team to definitely keep an eye on and moving forward, and they're improving. They wanted people's attention. I think they're getting it. Obviously, the teams that are too good for Div 7, I think this one's kind of obvious. Ink Reapers, you might have heard of them. They're the team that won Low Ink as a Div 7 team. Ink Reapers a little too strong. A little too strong for Div 7. Where do you put them? I don't know, but they proved they're a little too good. How about Typhoon Splatoon as well? The team that won the American group, beating Power Inc. 5-1, Ink Bashers 5-3, and Deep Indigo 5-2. So Typhoon just kind of steamrolled their way through Div 7. A really strong team. Div 8, Div question mark. The most improved team, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. I guess Legato is a team we should be keeping an eye on here. This is a team that did not make Gamma Bracket when they played back in May Low Inc., but did pretty well here in their Luti group. They did make playoffs. And, I screwed up that. Legato did make playoffs in Div 8 of the American group. Just fell to Pufferfish Party 5-4, but there were a lot of teams in Div 8 that were just kind of like, yeah, these guys are clearly monsters. If you keep in mind, I talked about the American group, Lumistars and Vegas Splat, that those guys combined had only lost one game. One game between both of them heading into the grand finals that they were going to play against each other. It was another 5-0 result. Lumistars 5-0 to Vegas Splat. So how good is Lumistars and how good is Vegas Splat? We have no idea. Please play in some tournaments, guys. We need to keep an eye on you to see how good you actually are. But Lumistars just completely destroyed. Like they 5-0'd Vegas Splat, who is undefeated per game. And they 5-0'd them. We need to see these guys play in Low Inc. or something. If they might be too good for Low Inc. for all we know, but we need to see them play in more tournaments so we can get a perspective of how good they actually are. But they're clearly not at a Div 8 level. For Div 8 the world, this one should be pretty easy. Fallen Inc. They haven't played their grand finals game against Splatland Recon team just yet, but Fallen Inc. is a team that does play in Minnow Cup, made Top Cut, does play in Low Inc., made Alpha Bracket. Not a Div 8 skill level team, but again, a Div question mark team. We can fill in the question mark now. We know they're closer to a Div 5, Div 4 kind of range, but Fallen Inc. clearly too good for the Div that they are in. The problem with all of this is we're wrapping this up. You can't reseed or re-div these teams. You can't. Let me explain. If you're going to say a team should move up, you have to make room for them by moving someone else down. Let's use Resilience as an example. I said they proved that they are a Div 3 caliber team with how much they've improved in their Div 4 Luti set. Where do you put them in? What team do you want to knock out? Whose spot are they supposed to take? Do you just take the team that did the worst in Div 3? Automatically, you have to go down? No. That's you can, but then who is it? Who are you going to put up there? Is Resilience going to be the team you put up above them, or are you going to put up the team that beat them, Bounty, or the team that beat them in group stage twice, or the team from the World Group? So it's like, how are you going to move all of these? No, I knew that was coming, Emil. Yeah, right. You can't make all of these adjustments, right? You can say that Resilience plays at a Div 3 level. That you can actually say, yes. But can you say Resilience is a Div 3 team? No, you can't. You cannot say that. And people are going to say, oh, here's my new Div estimate. And oh, this is the project. This is how I did last season in my new project. So this is our Div estimate for this. All that crap is coming back. And it's annoying because if Luti were to come back next month, that would fix all of this. That would give you guys that new shot in the arm of everything being reseeded. But it's not going to be next month. Look at Sonder. Everybody's making the case for Sonder now. Let's look back at what happened with that. 2 seasons ago, Sonder wins Div 1, right? It's assumed they're automatically going to be bumped up into Div X the next season. This next season comes around a year later, though, and they don't do as well as other teams that got Div X. They don't play as hot heading into Luti as they have in the past. Other teams won the play-in tournament. Arctic Moon won a play-in tournament. 100% Sunshine won the European seeding tournament, the European Luti tournament. Now all those teams got put in Div 1. And what is like, why is Sonder not up there? Because it's a year later. If Luti Divs came out brand new next week, heck yeah, Sonder would be up in Div X. It's very easy to say, oh, whoever the worst team in Div X was, bump them down, move Sonder up. Easy argument to be made there. But is Resilience going to be at a Div 3 level a year from now? We don't know. It's not fair for me to use Resilience as an example, but I love picking on Splatford and he loves picking on me, so suck it up, kid. But could Resilience move down? Could they lose a player and their roster get revamped? Could they play an SAC and not do as strong as somebody else? Could like some new team rise up and take their spot? Those are the things we're going to talk about, but nobody is going to think about going into the next Luti season because we don't know when that's going to be. So all these divs, like reseeding, rediving, all of these things, it doesn't matter because it's just talk. It holds no substance. And that's what's so annoying because divs are already irrelevant. They're already irrelevant right now. The season's over. You got your div was your seed, and now the tournament's over, so you don't have your seed anymore. But we're still going to use this as reference for everything. And I know it's hypocritical. I know because I'm a head TO at Low Ink now, and we use divs as a bar line. You have to have something, right? You have to have some line in the sand that says you are above this line, you are under this line. Otherwise, you're just playing favorites. You're just being like, yeah, we know you're Div 4, but we're going to let you in because we know that you are not that good. Or whatever the case may be. You have to have some sort of standard to where you have consistency. So I get why Luti divs are used for skill cap tournaments. I get that. But it's at what point do we stop giving Luti this kind of power? Like at what point do we start looking at things from our own kind of perspective? There are some things coming back out. The top 60, the Western top 60 came back out this past month. Love level rankings are a thing that are coming out consistently on a monthly basis as well. Are these things going to be are these things instantly going to take over Luti? No. Could they? Yeah, they absolutely could. But we're not going to mentally do that because it's too awkward for somebody to ask at here scrim top 50 in the West. At here scrim teams 20 and below on the low level rankings for the month of June. We're not going to do that because it's too weird. We're too used to asking for scrims at a Div 3 level. But the longer this goes on, the less and less we are going to know what Div 3 actually looks like. Because the teams that are going to be actually Div 3? Is Luau a Div 3 team anymore? Like, is honestly, can we say Div 3 and Luau next to each other? We shouldn't, but we're going to, because there is you can't outright say they're Div 2 until they actually get that 2. And it's going to be a long time before they actually get that 2. Overall, I think this Luti season was a positive thing for the competitive community. I mentioned about 25 teams that benefited, that improved, that were proved they were too good in just 5 different divs there. It goes to a lot more. 320 teams. Everybody benefited in some way. Either you found out your team sucks and you disbanded, or you still benefited from just being able to grow as a team in some sense of a way. Luti is a great thing for the community. I love it. The negatives that come along with it, though, I think are still worth it. I think the Olympics is a perfect comparison. You love to see the Olympics come in, but if the Olympics was every single year, it would lose its power. It would lose its luster. I think the amount of times we see Luti is just the right amount of time right now. But if we keep putting this much stock in the Luti divs in everything we do going forward, then it's not going to feel like the Olympics. It's going to feel like something that's happening every single month. And that is not what we need here in this community. That being said, we're going to end the podcast right here. And we're going to start getting mentally prepared for Thursday's episode of the Popcast, which is going to be previewing the upcoming Low Inc., my top 10 teams, and a bunch of other teams that I think are going to improve and really pop off in this tournament, even if they don't win it. If you would like to be a part of the Popcast in any way, if you want to reach out to me, if you want to say GGs to me, don't do that. Don't tell me GGs after your solo queue match. I don't care. But if you want to reach out, if you want to join my Discord server and suggest a topic that you think I should cover here on the Popcast, feel free to reach out to me on my socials below. Twitter at Mr_Popgun, Discord at Popgun, #5882, YouTube at 25Popgun, Twitch at Popgun25, Anchor.fm/Popgun. Magic 8 Ball is streaming, so let's rate him. Make sure you guys get vaccinated. Keep wearing your mask. Don't do anything stupid over the next week. I need you alive. Your goal should be to live to the next episode of the Popcast. Easy goal, right?